We are doing a read-in from Pope to Burns. It's the Columbia University series. We were just talking in class. This is one of the readings we like to do. Has kind of a reminder every once in a while. Has to the history and the learning of reading, writing, education, the circulation of information. This is a few paragraphs here that we read in class to kind of just bring a awareness to that, as opposed to just saying you better appreciate being able to read. Right. It's right, kind of like just don't say I love you. You can say it, but well, do yes, you can say I love you. It was just an example as to you can say I love you, but if there's no substance to it, it's just words, right? So to say, you need to appreciate reading, and then you just make sure you're going to be in trouble if you don't appreciate reading and you're not going to get your allowance. Yeah, you can apply that to a lot of things, right? Bite your tongue. Open your mouth. Take this. Don't take that. Vote for this. Don't vote. Yeah, exactly. So this is an example, a few paragraphs here. That is a great example to show the history. And it does kind of give an appreciation when you understand those things and how things came to be, as opposed to just, here, eat this. Well, what is it? Well, it looks like a duck, but it's not quacking. And it doesn't look like a duck. I'm not sure what this looks like. What is it? Just eat it. No, I'm not going to. I want to know what it is. Just trust you? Let me size you up a little bit. Do you look like a trustworthy person? Hold on. You've built a relationship with me for the last, 3 to 6 months, and you seem very trusting, like someone I could trust and that wouldn't do me wrong. So, okay, open wide. What is it? Close your eyes and open your mouth. How does it go? And I will give you a big surprise. Open your mouth and close your eyes, and I will give you a big surprise. Trustful. Yeah, exactly. I'm good, thanks. How are you? We are doing a random reading. Pope to Burns, page 4, journalism. It is one of the staple random readings we do. Yeah, that's awesome. Did you get a lot of snow there? Check the weather report. All right, anyways, page 4, journalism. In a country and century in which the vast majority of the population could not read, the influence of the newspapers was necessarily restricted, and even if it had been possible to enlarge enormously the number of readers, the press was not sufficiently developed on the mechanical side to supply any great demand. It was not until early in the 19th century that the improvement of the newspaper printing machine and the application of steam power made great circulation possible. Okay, I'm doing the best I can. I'm on my ball too. I'm kind of doing stuff trying to read and get better situated here. It's in kind of a funny position to read. Nevertheless, the 18th century made notable advances in the art and craft of journalism and greatly increased the influence of newspapers and periodicals and the attention paid to them. There were indeed newspapers in the 17th century, notably the Official Gazette, first published in 1665. Of this official newspaper, the organ of the government, Richard Steele was editor in 1707, and he managed, by keeping it very innocent and very insipid, to hold his office successfully. So class, just in that part, is highlighting, you want to look up the Gazette. The official Gazette, first published in 1665. See what we get on the internet there with that. Yeah, imagine reading this book not too long ago. Especially it was written in the early 1900s, so you definitely didn't have the internet to be able to look up examples or... Yeah, interesting. So we're going to look up the Gazette, first published in 1665. And Richard Steele, Steele, editor in 1707. All right, but he saw, with the greater freedom of scope, he could make his journalistic talent more useful to his party and more interesting to himself. He accordingly started in 1709 the Tatler, Tatler, another thing we can look up, the Tatler, which avoided, on the one hand, the colorless style of the official Gazette. Yeah, maybe if you, sometimes they put quarter screens. Right, so you can kind of see different examples. Some will be looking them up as we're talking and showing examples and stuff like that. So for now, we're just getting through this reading, and then, but yeah, if you join in on the other class there, they have a, what do you call it when it's split four ways? A quartet. Thank you, a quartet screen. What do I call it? A quarter screen. Same thing, right? Yeah. Well, half past a monkey's ass, quarter to his balls. Sorry. Anyways, but he saw that with greater freedom of scope, he could make his journalistic talent more useful to his party and more interesting to himself. He accordingly started in 1709 the Tatler, which avoided, on the one hand, the colorless style of the official Gazette, and on the other, the violence and one-sidedness of a mere party organ. 100 years later. It's way worse than we thought. No, actually, in retrospect, how great is it? Amazing how far we've come in such a short period of time, and that we haven't destroyed everything completely. I mean, in some worlds, total annihilation. There ain't no going back, right? Some things, it's just, what do they say? Point of no return. It's not a total loss, though. Yeah. He aimed not so much at the publication of news as of light occasional articles of general interest and literary value, and was greatly assisted in the pursuit of this purpose by securing the cooperation of his friend Joseph Addison. Addison's easy and graceful style, his gentle humor, and freedom from bitterness made him the master of the modern essay and the founder of periodical journalism in the English tongue. He was less of a politician than Steele, and in The Spectator, 1711 to 1712, the two co-workers produced a periodical that was free from party bias and made a notable contribution to the development of English prose. Later, when Steele wished to return to political journalism, he separated again from Addison and became sole editor of The Englishman and other reviews, which were uniformly unsuccessful. A much more typical journalist than either Addison or Steele, they were primarily men of letters and only journalists by accident. Was Daniel Defoe primarily was Daniel Defoe, I'm restarting the sentence, a much more typical journalist than either Addison or Steele, which were primarily men of letters and only journalists by accident, was Daniel Defoe, who was a journalist by instinct and profession and only occasionally a man of letters. Most of his books were really journalistic, for example, intended to supply the interest and demand of the passing day, and only one, Robinson Crusoe, has kept a permanent place in literature. But his adventures and vicissitudes as a journalist ran the gamut of the possible experiences of the profession in his day, and indeed in almost any day. Vicissitudes, 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 vicissitudes. Sure, we'll put that on the crossword and I'll learn how to pronounce it later. Vicissitudes. Am I saying it right? Vicissitudes. Vicissitudes. Yes. Here comes another hard V word. Son of a gun. He would write a last dying speech and confession for a condemned criminal and have it handed to himself by the criminal at the foot of the gallows in the sight of the mob assembled to witness the execution. Such is the verisimilitude. Another one for the crossword. Two big V words. Verisimilitude. VERISIMILITUDE. Well, they both end in tude. Itude. Such is the verisimilitude of his realism, assembled to witness the execution. Oh, wait. Man, such is the verisimilitude of his realism that it is almost impossible to separate fact from fiction in his multitudinous publications about current events. He was the founder of sensational journalism as well as the realistic novel, and his achievements in these genres may reasonably be compared with those of Steele and Addison in the development of the periodical and light essay. Politer forms of art, Politer, politer, politer forms of art, but with a much less significant future ahead of them. Who's being a goofball? Who, me? Yeah, you. Satire. Satire is the next section. We're on page 5. All of these men could write, each in a way characteristic of himself, but the master of all of them, of all predecessors and successors in the handling of English prose, was Jonathan Swift. Intellectually, also, he towered far above his contemporaries. He had a fling at journalism in the Examiner, 1710 to 1711, and also in his Drapier's Letters, a series of pamphlets by which he endeared himself to the Irish as a successful advocate for the redress of one of at least of their numerous wrongs. Drapier's Letters, Grapiers, Drapier's Letters. In one of his bitterest satires, a modest proposal for preventing the children of poor people from being a burden to their parents or the country, and for making them beneficial to the public. That's the title? 1729. Interesting. Let's look that one up. Jonathan Swift, 1729. So this is the title. It's a whole sentence. It's a satire. Okay. A modest proposal for preventing the children of poor people from being a burden to their parents or the country, and for making them beneficial to the public. 1729. He gravely and in elaborate ironic detail argued that as Ireland was poor in everything except population, the lower classes should be encouraged to breed and fatten children for consumption as food by more fortunate people. In The Tale of a Tub, written about 1697, though not published till 1704, it's amazing these were stories written hundreds of years ago. Yeah, I don't even think our town that we're in right now was established yet, right? We were established in 1774, right? So this was 1704. This is called The Tale of a Tub. Well, I'm sure it had inhabitants, yes, as far as being established in the public records or archaic records. Right. Alrighty. In The Tale of a Tub, written about 1697, though not published till 1704, he turned his mordant power, crossword, M-O-R-D-A-N-T, he turned his mordant power of sarcasm upon Roman Catholicism and other forms of dissent from the established church, with such success that all supporters and believers in revealed religion were offended and shocked. His shorter paper, An Argument Against Abolishing Christianity, 1708, is in a similar vein. Queen Anne, it is said, refused to make him a bishop because she could not understand his irony and thought he was arguing seriously against Christianity, and Swift retired to his Irish deanery to eat out his heart in solitude. It was not a religious age, and Swift was undoubtedly embittered, not only by his own lack of preferment, but by the difference he perceived between men's professions and their performances. The English historian J.R. Green, himself a clergyman, said that in the 18th century the English clergy were the idlest and most lifeless in the world. Swift's genius may also have been clouded by some physical or mental defect which poisoned his life and made his relations with women impossible. Many writers have attempted to solve the mystery of his love affairs with Stella and Vanessa, but no adequate explanation has yet been suggested. The literary skill he put into Gulliver's Travels has a burlesque of the story of travel and adventure had made it a favorite romance with young people, even up to our own time, but its real power consists in its savage invective, directed under very thin disguises, not only at the shortcomings of his own time, but at the miseries and meanness of the human race, anywhere, at any time. In the land of the Lilliputans, by reducing everything to a small scale, Swift impresses the reader with the triviality of human experience by magnifying everything to a gigantic scale in the country of the Brobdingnagians. The, the, the Brobdingnagians. He forces on us the unwilling realization of the crudeness and the coarseness of certain phases of life. In the flying island of Laputa, he gives us a kind of perversion of Bacon's New Atlantis and a bitter satire upon education, but it is in the country of the Houlihanums that the unconquerable loathing which possesses him for humanity at large expresses itself in the most uncompromising terms. Here the fierce indignation which lacerated Swiss spirits throughout his whole life shows itself in its most destructive form. A satirical vein pervades also the work of the outstanding poet of the first half of the century, Alexander Pope. His satire has not the bitter energy and fierce indignation of Swift, but it is more superficial and woppish. But there is no doubt of his high intelligence or of his supreme skill as a maker of verse in his own somewhat limited field. He sums up in his work all the characteristics of the Purian. The superficial glitter and high polish of his poetry are the expression in literature, and of the fine manners and the elaborate dress of the day. There is little of the subjective note in his work, little analysis of emotion, little interest